All right, this is big time coming at you again with Friday stream. So they're coming for women's spaces, more black excellence, of course, and defensive gun use. And then I want to do a comparison between H-burg, which is the state I live in, Harrisburg, and B-more, Baltimore. So you can see, I guess you could say the conservative approach, or maybe the back the blue approach in a swing state like Pennsylvania, and what they're doing in a liberal black run city, or I guess black Democrat city like Baltimore. So, the first story today is coming out of DC. DC Council overrides veto from Muriel Bowser, passes bill that reduces punishments for rape and murder. Anytime there is a policy that reduces penalties, I think it sends the wrong message. I can't believe the black mammy actually stood against this. It must be bad. On Tuesday, the Council of the District of Columbia moved to override a veto by Democrat Mayor Muriel Bowser that prevented a bill aimed at reducing penalties for violent offenders, the revised Criminal Code Act, from becoming law. According to local news, in a 12-1 vote, with Ward 8 council member Trayvon White voting in opposition. You couldn't tell us the names of the people who supported it, huh? The council moved to override Bowser's veto of the revised Criminal Code Act. Essentially, the city's code determines what punishments to assign to crimes, including sentence lengths, and also classifies what type of crimes are misdemeanors. The code sets guidelines that the police, attorneys, courts, and prisons all work from. Wow, Bowser went on Fox. On January 3rd, Bowser vetoed the bill, and according to Fox News, Bowser said, I don't think that's Fox. Anytime there is a policy that reduces penalties, I think it sends the wrong message. Wow, so she actually went on the news about it, huh?
Do this before bed to stop receding gums and decaying
Give me 1 sec. I'll have to start
before it's too late.
Playing the ads.
25% of adults over 60.
The Washington Post reported last week that homeless shelters in DC were filling up, and groups were getting overwhelmed by these buses that the governors of Texas and Arizona are sending here full of migrants. How significant is this influx? How many people?
Well, this is a very significant issue. We have for sure called on the federal government.
All right. I thought you were going to talk about it. The law eliminates mandatory minimum sentencing, reduces maximum sentences for offenders, and gives those accused of misdemeanors the right to a jury trial. Another charge would allow those convicted of violent crimes like murder and rape to ask for early release 20 years into their sentence. Washington, D.C. has seen carjacking crime soar since 2020. But the new bill would soften carjacking punishments. I wonder which community is committing 95% of all the carjacking. Remember that Uber Eats driver, the Pakistani who was carjacked by 2 black girls who were 13 and 14? Yeah, they're now in prison till they're 21 or juvie, and they'll be out by the time they're 18. So his life was worth 3 years. The bill would overhaul the city's criminal code that was written in 1901 and received a unanimous vote of approval by DC's all-Democrat council in November of last year. DC Attorney General Brian Schwab tweeted, "The revised Criminal Code Act is the product of more than a decade of research, compromise, and public input." I sincerely doubt that. Given our principal mission of improving public safety and the fair administration of justice, OAG has been engaged since day one of these reform efforts. Reform to DC's 122-year-old criminal code passed before women and black residents enjoyed fundamental rights are sorely needed. Ah, yes, the genetic fallacy. Well, when your people were brought here on ships, you couldn't read. I don't really know what to tell you. Like, if I'm having a spelling bee and you can't speak my language, I'm not going to invite you to the spelling bee. That's just common sense, right? This bill will improve public safety and provide long overdue clarity and fairness in our justice system. So what that means, let me translate. Too many black people are being arrested and put in prison. RCCA should be the law of the district, Schwab added. And the white people who voted for this, I mean, you get what you get. I just feel bad for the kids who live here, particularly the black kids that are going to be killed or, beaten or by their lovely neighbors because they didn't do anything to deserve this. Okay. Like the kids are just there. The kids are innocent. But as far as the parents who vote for this, I don't, like all I have to say is don't come here. You fucked up DC, you stay there. Don't move to Pennsylvania. Okay. After Bowser's veto on January 10th, Council member Brooke Pinto tweeted, "Today, at CM Charles Allen and I are moving to override the mayor's veto of the revised Criminal Code Act." How bad does it have to be for a black Democrat, female black Democrat, to say she doesn't want it passed? It must be terrifying. The veto threatens to unravel years of work and thorough study that has culminated in a criminal code that is more just, equitable, and clear, making us all safer. I'm not sure how that works. I'm not sure how punishing people less and not punishing criminals makes it safer. I have an idea, and I'm going to cover that at another time. Council member Matt Fruman tweeted, "I will vote to override the mayor's veto of the revised Criminal Code Act. The RCCA modernizes our criminal code, making it more transparent and equitable, and will promote public safety." When you're carjacked and killed by some black teenage girls, I'm not going to know what to say to you. You're probably the first guy who voted to remove gun rights from everyone in DC, right? I don't know what to tell you, bro. The law now heads to Congress, and federal legislatures will decide whether the bill will become law. Yep. Just think about that. You have this black female mammy Democrat who said it's too much. DC is going to turn into another Chicago, huh? Okay, and got another story here. Showing you that Asians are not as based as everybody thinks they are. Breast cancer surgeon slammed for calling adult human female a siren call for hatred. Oh boy. This is just another example of the fact that Maori name for hop bush. Oh my God. Again, the brainwashing. A surgeon and professor is being mocked. Good. After criticizing a crossword puzzle which used adult human female as a definition for woman, calling it uninclusive. On January 18th, Dr. Ray Liang posted a screenshot to her Twitter calling attention to a crossword she had seen in Gardening Australia magazine. Ling expressed she was disappointed to see uninclusive language being used as a hint for one of the crossword lines. In her screenshot, Ling underlined a hint which read adult human female. Lin claimed the definition was a siren call for hatred and tagged Gardening Australia's parent media group, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. Oh, let me guess. Now everybody has to be fired, right? Now their children have to be kicked out of college, right? Ling is a breast and gender surgeon at Robina Hospital in the Australian state of Queensland. She's also a co-lead and clinical associate professor in the Faculty of Sciences and Medicine at Bond University. On her Bond University profile, Ling is described as having a particular research focus on breast cancer management, as well as, I don't care, diversity and inclusion in medicine. Look, you're clearly Asian. You got in. You're a doctor. Unless a bunch of like white people were riding in hoods and spit on you or put a cross of fire in front of you, if you can provide to me some sort of evidence that at any point someone stopped you from going to school, unless you applied to Harvard or the University of North Carolina, who would just give you the lowest possible score on their character test because they think Asians are too white adjacent. Unless you can give me something like that, which is terrible, that shouldn't happen, then I don't believe you. Like inclusive, you're a fucking doctor. What was in your way? Despite having both a background in advocating for women in the medical field and a specialization in women's healthcare, Ling began to attract attention on social media for her post rallying against a definition of women. Many users initially believed Ling was joking or was a parody account intended to mock the absurdity of trans activists. Some expressed shock when they realized she was being serious. Unbelievable, this person claims. Here, just checking. All right. This person claims to be a breast surgeon in her bio, but thinks adult human female is uninclusive. Honestly, you literally couldn't make this up, tweeted one user in response. Some Twitter users were also quick to point out that as a doctor specializing in breast cancer, Ling should be aware of what a woman is. Well, if she was a Democrat or a Ketanji Brown Jackson, she can't answer that question, right? Saul Grover, the founder of women-only social media application Giggle, replied to Ling's post and noted that an understanding of biological sex should be considered important in women's healthcare. You're a doctor. If you won't acknowledge the fact that a woman is an adult human female, why should anyone let you come anywhere near them to practice medicine on them? Because if you'll ignore that biological fact, what else will you ignore? Good question. Ling responded to Grover, writing, "A woman is most commonly an adult female word. The word order is important, but there are a proportion who are also adults born genetically male who are women." Oh boy. Asians are not based just because they're Asian, okay? Here's an example of an Asian who can be just as brainwashed as any other fucking lefty liberal, all right? And conservatives tend to be cowards. Being conservative doesn't automatically make you better. In an effort to prove her point, you only need to Google the definition adult human female. Ling continued to call the definition adult human female a hate phrase, stating, "You only need to Google the phrase adult human female to get pages of anti-trans hate. It's such a known hate phrase, it's caused a ban from standing for the UK Parliament." In an effort to prove her point, the woman's health doctor then shared an article about Natalie Bird, a mother of two and domestic abuse survivor, who was banned from running for public office for wearing a shirt that said woman, adult, human, female. Bird was also targeted by trans activists after asserting that women's refugees should be segregated based on sex. Adult human female has been used as a slogan by women's rights campaigners who aim to protect single-sex spaces by reaffirming that males cannot be women. Yeah, they can't. Maybe in your mind, you can do all the mental gymnastics, but you're not a woman. Despite being a long-standing definition, the word was popularized as a political slogan by Standing for Women, a rights campaign established by Kelly J. Keene. Keene sells T-shirts reading the definition, such as the one Natalie Bird was reprimanded for wearing to fund her campaign. Oh, now we can't sell T-shirts, right? Look, if you want to sell your own T-shirts, then sell your own T-shirts, but don't try to stop me from selling T-shirts, okay? I wonder, would you stop would you stop a certain religion from selling T-shirts that said, a certain phrase that they might say when they perform certain acts of violence? Many critics of gender ideology have also pointed out that trans activists have failed to provide a coherent alternative definition for the word woman. The question, "What is a woman?" became a popularized slogan after conservative podcaster Matt Walsh made a documentary in 2022 highlighting the harms of gender ideology. A focal point of the feature were interviews with trans activists who seemed unable to provide a definition for women. Yeah, again, lefty, kryptonite to a lefty. Kryptonite to a lefty liberal is a simple, direct question. I was having a side tangent. I was having a conversation with a family member of mine. This family member of mine said, "No American needs an assault rifle." And I said, "Well, that way we can send them to Ukraine, right?" No response. And they said, "You think Americans should be allowed to have assault rifles?" So I said, okay, out of the 100% of homicides that occur each year from guns, how many of them occur with long guns? It took my family member 4 minutes of deflection, insults, guilt, and appeals to emotion. Too many. You think people should die? You think children should die? No, no one should die. No, of course. Okay. Again, for the 15th time, what is the percentage of deaths in America each year with long guns? After 4 minutes, I don't know. I said 2%, 2 to 3%. More people die in the United States from fists and feet and knives than long guns. Why did it take you 4 minutes to say, I don't know? Anyway, tangent over. Confusingly, Ling added a tweet to her original post today asserting that adult female humans is a more inclusive way to define women. Ironically, Ling is frequently consulted by Australian media on the experiences of female doctors. The definition of the word woman has become so divisive that dictionary.com labeled woman as their 2022 Word of the Year. Searches for the word woman on dictionary.com spiked significantly multiple times in relation to separate high-profile events. Yeah, like when a minority hire got appointed to the Supreme Court, right? According to dictionary.com, searches for the word woman increased 1,400% after Ketanji Brown Jackson's Supreme Court confirmation hearing, where she failed to give a definition of the word, claiming she did not have the specialty to do so. Well, I mean, by that logic, when you're so mad that the Supreme Court repealed Roe v. Wade, why did you approve of Roe v. Wade? If she's not a doctor, then how could the judges, when Thurgood Marshall was on the court, how could they approve Roe v. Wade? They're judges, not doctors, right? So how could they be claimed as the experts? They're the experts when it's in your favor. I'm not a biologist. Well, again, the judges who approved it weren't biologists either, right? I know Ruth Bader Ginsburg is your spokesperson, but she even said it was based on bad law. On October of 2022, Cambridge Dictionary came under fire after abruptly adding an alternative definition to the word woman, describing it as an adult who lives and identifies as female, though they may have been said to have a different sex at birth. Oh, you're so weak. The definition for female reads, belonging or relating to the sex that can give birth to young or produce eggs, which undermines their newly expanded definition of the word woman, as males do not belong to the sex that can give birth. Many have stated that the second definition renders the word meaningless. Well, that's the whole point. The whole point is just to, the whole point is to change the definition. Objective reality. Lefties don't like objective reality. Okay, so today's defensive gun use. Again, I covered defensive gun use. Anyone new to the channel, this is the website I use. This is the Gun Violence Archive. To date, there have been 33 mass shootings. There have been 58 defensive gun uses, which you will never hear about. But that's okay. I'll talk about them. So I believe this is coming out of, let me see, 1 second. And I think I got this on video. Sure, there'll be an ad, right? Sorry about that. I'm not really sure what happened. All my freaking power went off. Everything shut down. Then of course the computer had to freaking had to update. Sorry about that. I'll put a timestamp in. Yeah, so I think I was talking about the gun violence archive. Funny how it kept streaming while nothing was working. That's interesting. Yeah, so anyway, gun violence archive. Very sorry about that. I'll put a description. I'll put a link in the description saying, what happened. Again, I covered the defensive gun uses. And I want to show, I got a video today of a nice defensive gun use that happened. So bring that up here.
Surrounding an early morning shooting at a Sanford bar.
Police said a man attempting to carjack a bar employee was shot and killed by the victim's boyfriend, who police say happened to be nearby and saw the whole thing. It happened at George's Tavern near US 1792 and 11th Street. News 6's Catherine Silver is there tonight with the latest.
Sanford police seen here piecing together what led to a deadly shooting at this bar on French Avenue. Their investigation now revealing an attempted carjacker was shot after he attacked an employee. Detectives were first called to George's Tavern around 2:20 Thursday morning, where they found a man dead in the parking lot. Police focused on the back of the business, where they say the man came out of a portalette near the worker's car and ambushed her. Investigators say the
Yo, he was waiting in a porta potty. Oh, are you kidding me? He was in a porta potty.
woman's boyfriend, who was waiting for her to finish her shift, shot and killed the man.
Oh, wow.
People passing by the bar Thursday say they woke up and saw police in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah, I heard some gunshots.
It surprised me. Very surprised. Shocked.
Al Moon is a regular at the tavern.
George's is a very friendly place. It's a nice place to come. There's never any trouble in here. The owners are very nice people.
This bar is a landmark, a staple here in Sanford. It's less than a mile to downtown and even closer to police headquarters. Detectives there are working to identify the man who was shot. Security cameras placed around the business did capture video of the attack and shooting. Police say it is part of their investigation. Based on what they know so far, they say the employee and her boyfriend are not facing any charges.
Well, that's good to hear. All right, so in my title, it says H-burg versus B-more. So that's Harrisburg versus Baltimore. So I want to show some local news about what Harrisburg is doing, because they're now having an increase of fights at schools. 5 guesses is which community. And this is, however, Harrisburg is still a Republican majority, very red area. So they have a different approach. You know, there's not a Soros DA in Harrisburg like there is in Philadelphia, like with Krasner. So let's play the video, and then we'll do a comparison between what Harrisburg is doing and what Baltimore is doing.
Earlier this week, district leaders discussed the concept of a district-wide police force after the beginning of the year at John Harris High School was marred by fights.
Sometimes things just go from A to Z quickly.
Harrisburg School Superintendent Eric Turman says in-house police officers could improve safety.
I've been threatened since I've been here simply for asking children to go to class and stay out of the halls.
The school district's security and safety director says the support.
Again, threatened by who? I would really like to know which students are doing the threatening, but for some reason they just can't tell us, right?
Is needed, but the police force could also keep many kids from ending up in the criminal justice system.
For me personally, if it's an option that we have, there's nothing wrong with bringing a child in and saying, okay, you're going to clean desks this weekend.
Nonviolence at.
Whoa. Did you hear that? Chores? You're going to make a kid who got in trouble clean the school? I don't know, man. That sounds like slavery.
Advocate Kevin Dolphin with Breaking the Chains Resource Center hopes the district brings in other resources while classes are in session.
You can also have 1 or 2 grassroots organizations, some mentors in there to be the bridge between the gap between these police officers and these youth.
To be the bridge, to be the gap. Yeah, so already the black community, already a black guy who, I wonder if you walked through this school and you tried to tell these kids no, what would happen to you, brother? Okay, so Harrisburg is talking about creating a police force for the school, making kids who get in trouble clean the school. I like it already. Stop being a fuck up and we won't hand you a. I think more kids need to be handed a mop and bleach. Oh, you like the fight? Cool. Go fight the floor for 8 hours. All right. So as a comparison, let's talk about Baltimore. Now, Baltimore has, now I'm bringing this up because some people would say the lefty Democrat black community likes to say, well, the school to prison pipeline, right? Well, here's what Baltimore's doing.
Tonight, alarming new video is surfacing on social media showing a student being beaten up at a bus stop near Mervo High School. It's one of several violent incidents around Mervo this year.
And again, remember, when there's fights like this, particularly with the black kids, it starts with 2 and then it spreads out. And then everyone whips out their phone and they just film it. They won't stop themselves. So this is Baltimore's idea. Let's hear what the mayor has to say.
Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott is coming forward now with a new program to put violence interrupters in city schools.
The mayor is putting violence interrupters in 3 Baltimore City high schools, and if it sounds familiar, it's very similar to how Baltimore's Safe Streets program is operated. Its new plan comes as
Here, hang on 1 second. Just trying to fix my headphones here. Yeah, I'm still not picking up the media, so.
More video continues to surface showing violence and fighting taking place in high schools and schools across Baltimore.
Just randomly,
A brutal bus stop beating showing students.
I got 2 streams happening now. All right.